Hey everybody, good evening. We're on day 2 of our sourdough starter feeding. I love seeing all the names of your sourdough starters. It makes me really happy. People are very clever. So some things I wanted to talk about before I forget. My home is about 70 degrees. This sourdough starter is really happy between about 75, 80 degrees. But I'm not going to turn my apartment up that high. And so if your home is on the colder side, you might notice less activity at this time. And I have Fred, and Fred's the one that I fed with the whole wheat flour that I bought at the grocery store. And then we have Jerome, and Jerome is freshly milled whole grain. And I wish I could send smells over Facebook because they smell totally different. It's bananas to me. It doesn't smell like bananas, but Fred smells, how do I describe this? Jerome smells more mild. Fred's got an intensity to him. Fred's the one with the store-bought whole wheat flour. And I don't know, sometimes I think I make up smells, but there's definitely a difference here. So we're going to do our day 2 feeding. It's been about 24 hours or so. It's okay if it's been a little bit longer, 25 hours, 26 hours. It's totally fine. Don't lose sleep over it, okay? It would help if I held this up. And I'm going to take my starter. I'm going to take some all-purpose flour and some water, and we're going to mix those up, and then we're going to leave it alone for 24 hours. Would have helped if I'd gotten a bowl. So I'm going to go ahead, I have my tiny scale here, and I'm going to weigh out 220 grams. We'll do Jerome first. You don't need to watch me do both of these. And so at 220 grams, you're going to notice it's a little sticky, a little tacky. That's okay. So I'm going to do, it's probably not going to be quite all of this. And what remains, let's see, it might be pretty close. So 220 grams leaves me this much behind. This is a pretty negligible amount. I'd say you could go ahead and put that in, but for the purposes of accuracy, we're going to set that little bit aside, and then go ahead and shift this down. I'm going to take Jerome, and I'm going to put him in the bowl, and I'm going to add my water. I apologize because my counter is a little bit cluttered, and you can go ahead, I have my tiny spatula again. You can also just get in there with your card, or you can just get in there with your hands, which is what I might do. Okay, and once again, I will be posting the recipe tomorrow just on Facebook, so you can follow along. If your home is on the colder side, sometimes it's nice to put your starter in a slightly warmer environment. Sue, who most of you know, she's another instructor at Bake. I know she keeps her starter in the oven with her the oven light on. And that's a good spot for it. I'm going to go ahead and add my flour in. All-purpose flour this time, no whole wheat. I was looking at my microwave, thinking that my microwave might be a good spot. And then I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to stir with this tiny spatula. But this is a job for a card. So I'm going to get right in here, rounded edge of the card. And LJ was going to start her starter with spelt flour because that's what she had on hand. I think what's important, the reason why we have the whole wheat in there, whether it's freshly milled or whole wheat from the store, is because there's a lot of really good enzymatic activity when you have the bran and the germ, and that comes from freshly milled, comes from whole grain flours. So that's why we put that in there to begin with. So I'm going to go ahead, a pretty firm hand, just like yesterday. And I'm really going to press and turn. The water I use, room temperature water, just straight from the tap. There's some pretty good stuff online if you look up, I believe it's called the Sourdough Project. I'll see if I can find a link and I'll put it up, where people have sent in different samples of their sourdough starters from around the world that all started off relatively the same, but then took on the characteristics of wherever they were made. It's pretty cool. So, still got some dry crumbly bits. I'm going to get out on the table. Move that bowl out of the way. And then a fold, a press, and a turn. And you're going to see this is quite a bit more starter than yesterday. And don't be alarmed, someone posted on Facebook that they had a little bit of gray water. Excuse me. A little bit of gray water on the top of their starter. No big deal. You can either stir that in or pour that off. I can't remember the name of that right now. I meant to look that up. But we got to make sure that we're giving all the yeast that we trapped in the last 24 hours some more food to eat. And I'm definitely going to transfer this to a larger container. Glass is good, so is plastic. Either is okay, whatever you prefer. I do think an airtight lid, or container, excuse me, with an airtight lid is really important. So I would recommend that. You don't want to just drape a towel or piece of plastic wrap over the top. All right, I'm almost done here. Sorry, my stand. All right. So, this looks pretty good. Okay. So it's going to look much like your starter did yesterday. I'm going to pop this into a container. Cup container. Okay. Yesterday was a 2 cup, today's a 4 cup. I'm going to put the same lid on because I don't want to lose track of Jerome versus Fred. And then we're going to come back tomorrow and we'll see it then. Thanks so much. Have a good night, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.